Welcome friends. So in today's video, we are going to be looking at Kotor Montenegro, and if you're coming to visit, where you want to stay and where you want to eat. We stayed for an entire month and we think that we can help you narrow down where you might want to stay. That is sort of the area that you might want to stay while visiting Kotor, based on a few different things. And if you're just here for the food and you want to know where to eat in Kotor, well then just feel free to fast forward because we cover that after we're done talking about where to stay.
First, there's a couple factors to consider. Number one, how long are you going to be in Kotor for? Because if you're only in Kotor for a week, our suggestions are going to be different than if you were in Kotor for 2+ weeks or a month like we were. A couple of other things to factor in would be, do you have any mobility issues? Are you bringing children with you? Are you planning on renting a car? And last, what is your budget?
So there are really three main areas of Kotor that we're going to cover and break those down for you. They each have their benefits and their challenges. And again, as Mitch said, depends on some of those factors such as how long are you going to be here, and do you plan on walking around, or are you going to have a car with you? So we'll break this down into Old Town Kotor, which is sort of the main center where the cruise ships come in as well. Then we have Dobrota, which is up along the, east coast of the bay. And then there's the south end of the bay, which is sort of south of Old Town. And I believe they call that Scagliara, but we're just going to refer to it as the south end of the bay. So we think if you're staying for 1 week or less, probably your best choice is going to be staying in the Old Town or in the proximity of the Old Town. It has a lot of benefits to stay there.
No, for sure. It's very close to everything. There's plenty of Airbnbs and hotels to stay at, and everything is just close by. If you want to go on a tour, if you want to just walk around Old Town, everything is really, really close. And it's also extremely walkable, and there's a lot of historic buildings and just a lot to see.
Yeah, you can stay in some of the hotels look like they were renovated, but you're staying inside those really old historic buildings right in the Old Town if that's what you choose to do. And even just outside, there's a lot of the older buildings. Now, some of the challenges of being in Old Town, it is very busy. That is where all the tourists want to be. So lots of bus tours coming in, and when there's a cruise ship in town, the Old Town really can fill up and get very crowded. So it is just going to be busier and maybe a bit noisier. The other thing to consider is there's no vehicle traffic allowed in Old Town. So anything, your luggage coming in and out, and depending how deep you are in Old Town, you're not going to be able to get a car past those entrance gates. So you are going to be lugging your kids, your luggage, and if there's mobility issues, there might be that. It's also all cobblestone streets, and you're potentially looking at climbing stairs and not having an elevator. And sometimes those old buildings, the doorways and the stairways can be very narrow and very uneven. So there is that. So if you have a car, you're going to have limited parking or probably be paying a premium for that.
For sure.
There is, however, right outside the Old Town, they're building a new Marriott.
They are. So that might be the best of both worlds once the hotel is built.
Yeah, it's right on the waterfront, so you're at sea level where it's nice and flat, but it's definitely obviously going to be super modern, I'm sure, and probably fairly luxurious looking, but that's a few years out likely.
So if crowds are your jam, then staying in Old Town will be fantastic.
So like a 2 week or longer stay, we're going to cover first one of the other options and our personal favorite, because that's where we stayed, which is Dobrota.
When we come back, we would definitely stay in Dobrota again. And a couple of the reasons are, it's just like a nice neighborhood. It's reasonably quiet, not as much traffic going by. It's close to a ton of restaurants. A lot of the restaurants are right on the seafront. Typically parking will probably be included depending on your accommodation that you have. We just really enjoyed staying in Dobrota.
And even if parking isn't included, like your taxi will be able to get you right to the door of your hotel or your Airbnb. And there are lots of hotels and Airbnbs in Dobrota.
Yeah.
And also we found the beaches just looked a little cleaner and nicer there, even though we weren't there. Well, we could have swam, but we didn't. They were just nicer than the beaches that were down in Old Town and closer to the cruise port.
And even some larger beaches.
Yes, that's true. They did seem nice, more roomy.
Yeah.
So there is still some challenges with staying in Dobrota. Dobrota is a very large area, so you can be as close to Old Town as like about half a kilometer, I would say. But we were 3 kilometers out of town, and Dobrota still went for probably about another 3 kilometers. So you would want to check with your Airbnb host or look at the map and see how far your hotel is from Old Town, because you are going to want to wander down to the promenade and the Old Town when you stay there. So you just might want to check how far you are from those places, especially if you are on foot and don't have a car, as we did. Also, just getting to Dobrota, especially from the airport, we learned, is quite a bit more expensive than just getting to the Old Town, even though it's only a few more kilometers. They definitely charge a premium for taxis in and around Kotor. Also, you're just going to be that much further if you want to do boat tours or take a bus or do the cable car. So any of those sort of activities are going to be closer to Old Town. The other thing that we would caution you about is where that Airbnb is located and how far away from the sea, because as you get away from the sea, once you get outside of Old Town, you just start going up the mountain immediately. So that first street, so you know if you're looking at a map, is right along the water at sea level. The very next street up, away from the water, is straight up a steep hill, and the next one is that much further, and so on and so on. So you can really have gorgeous views, as we did, but if you're higher up away from the water, you're also going to be higher up the mountain. So
You're definitely working for your views.
yes, if you don't have a car. The road that is right along the water, although probably busier in the summer, was actually just a really nice place to walk or bike, and it was really quiet and a beautiful walk all along there. Really, you could walk the entire way on that nice flat surface.
For sure. Okay, and the final location to stay in Kotor is the south end of the bay. Now, we didn't spend a lot of time there. However, we did walk through a couple of times. And from what we can see, you can find some really great accommodations, hotels, Airbnbs. And I think you can have some really epic views depending on how high you are up on the mountain.
Yeah, because from that end, you're looking at the mountains on both sides of the bay, so also closer to some things.
No, for sure. You're definitely closer to Old Town. If you're coming from the Tivat airport, you won't incur any additional charges from your taxi because it's basically just before Old Town.
And closer to like the cable car, the bus station is in that end of town, and there are some nice looking restaurants as well. However, we would, I guess our cautions for that would be, and again, as Mitch said, we didn't spend a lot of time there. We did just sort of walk a little bit, and we drove through it a few times. It didn't seem quite as romantic, I guess, or Mediterranean. Dobrota certainly had just some really beautiful buildings, and like we said, it was very quiet. Here at this end of town, it just seems busier. There was the really busy road that came from the airport through the tunnel. There were sort of casinos, gas stations. It just seemed more that you were in town and a little less romantic, as we said. So maybe not quite as quiet.
Right.
So that would be our cautions. And again, like Mitch said, you could get some epic views, but you're probably going to want to be up that hillside, which again, if you have a car, well, it's a pro and a con because that road was so busy there most of the time. Anyway, and then as far as budgets, I mean, you can get some pretty good deals anywhere. I think Old Town tended to seem to be more expensive, which makes sense because you're right in the center of everything. You can find some very reasonably priced stays anywhere really in Kotor, it seemed,
Yeah, no, for
especially
sure.
in off season. And just to wrap up the where to stay, we'd also like to just touch on when to stay, because again, like Mitch said, we do enjoy the off season. However, we would caution you that we left around mid-November and it was getting chill.
Yep.
And the sun, because you are in that beautiful bay and you do have these big, gorgeous mountains on either side, it does take a while for the sun to rise over those mountains, and it sets very quickly over the other mountain that time of year. So it does start to get chilly. I would say staying after the end of November and into December, unless that's what you want and you're wanting sort of to wear jackets and possibly bundle up a little bit more. It is getting a lot quieter and it is getting quite a bit cooler. Cruise ships start again in March or April, so that's usually a pretty good indication of when the weather starts to get better again, we would imagine. So that's it, and now let's take you to eat around Kotor. Okay guys, so we are doing a little food tour for you of where to eat when you're in Kotor, whether you're here for a day, for a month, for a week. And we are starting in Old Town, and we've been here before if you watched our previous video. We're back at La Cathédrale, but we think this is an absolute gem, so we might just be starting here today. We've come back to get 2 other pasta dishes. We have got the house white wine, and we're going to show you, although this might be one of our like authentic food tours like we usually do, and there might not be black risotto, and there might not be a ton of seafood, so we're just going to bring you some of the best restaurants. You might have guessed, since we're back at La Cathédrale for some pasta. I would also like to mention that we don't feel like by eating pasta here that we're cheating, because the Venetians ruled this area for decades, and there's a lot of Italian Venetian influence, and so really pasta is pretty much authentic Montenegrin food, at least here in Kotor.
Okay, first time ever having pasta carbonara or carbonara pasta. Super stoked. Love bacon, of course. Delicious. Big, thick pieces of bacon. The pasta is cooked perfectly. Okay, this is amazing. I love this. So good.
Okay, Urosh already put on our fresh grated Parmesan on this. I have never had a pistachio pasta. I did ask him, should I have the pesto? Because I thought I was set on that. I said, and then I saw the pistachio pasta, and he said, oh, pistachio all the way. So I had truffle pasta last time. This has pistachio cream, chunks of prosciutto on it, and it's obviously done with like a fusilli or ravioli. Oh my gosh. And there's fresh pistachios on it. Okay. I swear we could come here and eat every dish. It is so fantastic. This is delicious. We are going to go and enjoy. So come here to La Cathédrale if you're ever here in Old Town Kotor. Highly recommend. So we're here in Old Town, and we're at Hotel Maria. I might not be pronouncing that right. It's lovely here. We found this actually pretty early on in our month in Kotor. After touring Old Town, we just decided to have a seat here, regroup, and decide what we were doing, and found it actually has the cheapest wine we have found in Kotor. This is €3 for this nice healthy pour. But what we really love about it is we're sitting outside a pretty famous church in the Old Town, or let's call it famous. This is the best people watching spot. All the cruise ships and the tourists come through here, and you see everyone, all the tourists come through, and we have the best view. That is the mountain.
Yeah, I can't add very much more. We've been here several times, like Janet said. The most affordable glass of wine that we've found so far in Kotor at €3. A lot of places are 5, 6, 7 plus euros
And
for a
this is-
glass of wine.
Right in Old Town.
Yeah.
And it's pretty nice. There's actually a resident artist here who paints right behind us. She's over there right now, there's some people interested in her paintings. There's resident cats that sit by here. It's just it feels out of the way, but it's actually a bustling little corner that's very
really
far
is.
away from the main square. Oh, look, we have some garbage trucks coming by now.
Yeah, so we just wanted to let you know this is an awesome, affordable spot if you want to stop by for a drink and a great people watching spot.
And it seems like a very nice hotel. We've been in just to go to the washroom. The hotel actually looks very nice, and they have a really nice, simple, fresh menu. There's like some mixed salads. It's very simple. There's salads, tuna and Mediterranean, and a mixed salad. And there's a couple, I'm just looking at the menu, about 5 different pasta dishes and a dessert. So, I mean, we just never come here to eat, but we would if that's what we wanted to do.
Absolutely. So if you're in Old Town Kotor, make sure you stop
highly
by
recommend.
Hotel Maria.
Okay, so we're here in the main square, and the one tip that we did get from our tour guide on day 1 was eat anywhere in Old Town, but don't choose a restaurant here in the main square. It's just because I think it's the most touristy and possibly the most expensive. So wander off into the streets and find some of the other restaurants. A few that were recommended was La Cathédrale, which we frequented. Scala Santa for pizza is supposed to be good. We didn't have a chance to try that. Marshall's for gelato, which it's just too cold now. We're not eating gelato here today. And of course, our favorite little cheap wine restaurant at the Hotel Maria.
Okay, folks, so Little Bay is a place that we haven't been to and we won't have time to get to before we leave. However, very affordable prices and stunning views because they're right on the Adriatic. They're right on the water, which is fantastic. Not a lot of places are, so if you're around, I'd check them out. Also, if you Google Little Bay, there are 2 of them. There's the one on the water outside of Old Town and the one inside Old Town. So I definitely recommend this one here with stunning views of the Adriatic. By the end of October, we found a number of restaurants along the water were closed or closing for the season.
Okay, we're here in our last day of Kotor, and we've come to one of our favorite little places. It's called Planetus. It is outside of the Old Town. There tends to be quite a good mix of locals and tourists around here. We just like it for its vibe. It's always got some good music playing. It's got beautiful views all the time. It's got heaters. It's got good wine and good food. And although we've never, oh my, the flies are liking it. We've never really had a full dinner here, but we do enjoy their little appetizers. We've had their bruschetta, and we've had their, what we affectionately call patatas bravas, because it reminds us of a tapas in Spain that was our favorite. But look at these. So, what we did find out last time we were here, their cheesecakes are well known. They don't just make cheesecakes for this restaurant, they actually make them and send them out to other places. I love cheesecake. Okay, this is like my favorite. I would give up all other desserts, chocolate bars, ice cream. I would give up everything. If I could only have one dessert for the rest of my life, it would be cheesecake. So there is cheesecake in our future. We have not tried one yet. We're gonna enjoy this little appetizer here, and then they have at least 5 different cheesecakes in the display case today, and I'm not sure what we're gonna pick, but we'll come back for that. But if you're ever here in Kotor, 100% check out Planetus. They have a great vibe, they have amazing service, and it's just, they have all kinds of different seating, outside, on high seats, inside, whatever you want. We highly recommend.
Okay folks, so we have tiramisu cheesecake and pistachio cheesecake. Super excited, and I'm gonna get right into it. Pistachio first. That is outstanding cheesecake. It's actually really, really delicious. I wish I had a whole bunch of descriptions about it, but that's just not me. It's really freaking good.
Tiramisu wasn't, there was so many to choose from. There was also an Oreo cheesecake, and I went back and forth. I'm gonna do the tiramisu, but I hope it's a cheesecake. I have my eyes on that pistachio. Now, this is delicious. But for me, what I love about cheesecake is I love the denseness, and I love the real cream cheese flavor that comes through. So, to me, this isn't like traditional enough cheesecake for me, but it is still a delicious dessert, and Mitch is gonna love it. But I need to try the pistachio one before we go any further. It's almost like a caramel type layer that they put on the top. The crust is a traditional like graham wafer. The caramel edition is delicious. I'm actually gonna go to the back to get some of the pistachio. I'm sure there's probably a pistachio cream mixed in, just based on the coloring of this cheesecake. Okay, this is by far my favorite because it is that thick, delicious cheesecake flavor. The pistachio cream is almost not even like pistachios. I'm really getting that caramel or sort of like a brown sugar flavor with it. And I love a traditional graham wafer crust, so this is hitting all the boxes. Highly recommend. Come to Platinus because I might have to order the Oreo too after this, let's be honest.
What did you order us, Jen?
Okay, so when you come to Kotor, don't just go to the sit-down restaurants. We're here at Sandrella. It's fast food, and okay, we were a little intimidated, to be honest, the first time we were ordering here. It's right beside our Aroma supermarket, and it smells delicious. They always have big fresh sandwiches coming out and slices of pizza, and so we've just finally been brave enough. We did go in the other day and we didn't know what we were doing. We sort of stood there, so literally just go in. It kind of felt like the soup Nazi to me because I felt intimidated, but just go in. They speak, usually somebody in there speaks decent English, and we've just ordered the grilled chicken sandwich. It is less than €4, and wait until you see this baby. Okay guys, so we picked this up. Look at this. They literally make the bread homemade in there as you watch them. So this was made and put in the wood-fired oven as we were waiting, and it's just grilled chicken, and I believe there's mayo, lettuce, tomato, some onions in there, a little, maybe like a garlic aioli. Anyway, I'm gonna bite in. The bread is like crispy on the outside, so nice and soft on the inside. The grilled chicken, everything just sort of has that like wood-fired taste to it. It is so simple and absolutely delicious, and you cannot beat the price. And there's a man singing behind us in the park. Okay, I'm sure Mitch is getting jealous, so let's go eat.
Okay, so I've already started eating it, but we ordered one sandwich and they cut it in half. Like, it is just massive. Like, this is plenty lunch for two. And the cost was €3.90 for the entire sandwich.
This is Montenegrin fast food.
Absolutely, and it's delicious and tastes so fresh.
So good.
You say you don't wanna get in trouble, that you don't find 'cause you got me. I don't wanna break your little bubble, but you gotta wake up to reality, 'cause I can see.
We've come to Canova Portune tonight. It's on the water. We're just outside of Kotor Old Town, actually in Dobrota. We're a lot closer to our villa where we are staying. We have passed this place many times during the day and it just has the right atmosphere. And it's Mitch's birthday, so we finally decided to stop in.
Caderas no mientan como Shaki. Ese cuerpo de dulce, tráelo aquí. With all these summer night walks, summer night talks, sweet night thoughts.
What have you got, birthday boy?
Okay, folks, so I went out of my comfort zone. I got stewed veal with vegetables and truffles. So I figured you can't go wrong with truffles. And we've been eating a lot of chicken lately, so you know what? I was craving some, some beef. So I'm gonna dig right in here. Oh, I don't even need a knife for that. The beef is so tender. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, Jan, what do you have?
Okay, so like Mitch said, we've been having a lot of chicken, and I've had basically zero seafood since I've been here in Montenegro, which is basically the cardinal sin. So I went all out today and did the grilled octopus. I did ask the waiter how it was done. He said that the chef, actually this is a specialty. I did ask between the salmon, tuna steak, or the grilled octopus, which I should get. He said immediately the octopus. He said that he boils this for like 10 hours. I guess that really tenderizes it, and then he grills it, and it's grilled with all these veggies, so I'm excited. Okay, that was like butter to cut through.
Is everything okay?
Perfect.
Voila.
Thank you for the recommendation. Wow. Okay, this is delicious. It is like so tender, not chewy at all. It's not crispy, I thought, because it was grilled. There's like the super slightest crispiness to it. And you can just taste all the vegetables and olive oil. Delicious. So I think we need to go enjoy.
The seating inside Canova Portune was equally as gorgeous and inviting. We highly recommend this gem if visiting Kotor. One other honorable mention goes to the cheese shop along the Ladder of Kotor Trail. They serve warm homemade bread along with light and delicious homemade goat cheese. You can also enjoy coffee, juice, or wine along with stunning views.
Be free.